opening weekend for Suicide Squad here in Australia, and a lot of people's opinions have switched on both sides of the fence. One of the biggest gripes people have probably noticed is that there's a tremendous amount of cuts and jumps that take place in the movie where clearly there have been scenes deleted, because there's a lot of things, and it seems to be part of the course in DC movies now, where we just have to skip ahead and get through as much as we can and cram it all in and make sure it's entertaining as fuck, and it's just cramming a bunch of clowns into a car. It's ridiculous. As one of my friends pointed out to me over the weekend, one of the biggest problems that DC movies seem to have so far is that they create a tremendous amount of great moments, but can't string them together to make one good movie. Case in point, a Redditor by the name of Nadog shared an apparent complete listing of the amount of deleted scenes that actually took place in Suicide Squad, complete with description. You can go through the full listing in my description down below, but here are a few of my key scenes that should have remained in Suicide Squad. Wait for them to ask you who you know. First of all, one of my most important things to cover, there were more scenes with Captain Boomerang that were cut out. And the reason they were cut out is because they wanted to keep the film in more of a lighter tone by the looks of things. Apparently he was a lot more racist and sexually harassing to a katana throughout the entire film. Additionally, one of the other things that actually took place with Captain Boomerang was the fact that Harley flat out didn't like him. And this actually goes in line with a lot of different things that have occurred in some of the animated movies and in the comics. Harley has just never really liked Captain Boomerang. Personally, it would have been great to see more character development in Boomerang, but that's like saying you want more character development in every single character that you actually see in the film. There are some things that do need to be cut, but why I thought this was important is because a lot of people are now, after seeing the film, saying that Captain Boomerang is a tremendously lovable favorite character. That he is ruthless, but we never actually see the ruthlessness or the real sort of villain in him. We know he's a shifty scumbag and he's out for himself, but at the end of the day, where was the villainy that actually took place in Captain Boomerang? It just didn't seem to really exist. Showing more pieces of the kinks in his armor and how sort of broken down and messed up and basically evil he is would have been a welcome addition in my book. Number 2 is that there are several scenes listed that showcase Joker and Harley's relationship more true to how everyone understands it. The problem is in this film is that Joker really seems to love Harley, and a lot of people are throwing question marks up in the air about that because all of us know that the relationship between Joker and Harley throughout the entire comic book history has always been one of fear and domestic violence.
You're just in time to see the...
It's been a horrible relationship, and it's not one to aspire to. Yet, the portrayal that we actually get in Suicide Squad showcases an almost loving relationship between the two of them. I mean, yes, they're clearly crazy, but there's no character depth past that. We just know that they're crazy. So for us in the comic book world, we're imparting a lot of our own preconceived notions onto this, which gives two problems. One, we're always going to compare it against what we've always known and therefore not really like it. And two, even if we get past that, we'll never actually accept the way it is because it's never been fully developed. It's transparent and weak and shallow. And we want more out of our characters. Showcasing some of the arguments and some of the actual violence that Joker imparts onto Harley and making her more of a tragic figure in the audience's eyes will actually satiate us as fans who all know that's how it should be, and will satiate audiences who will actually see a more rounded and developed character. At the moment, they're getting some kind of Saturday morning serial version of Harley Quinn, and that's just not good enough. Finally, the last one that I actually would like to have seen is a bit more with CROC. CROC is a very complex character, like most of the characters in the DC universe, and unfortunately, like most of the characters in this film, we haven't seen the true depth of what they are. One of the biggest things you actually know about CROC as a comic book fan is that he was ridiculed his entire life and horribly mistreated, that he literally retreats to the sewers to hide away. He's worked out of Gotham for a bit of time, and as the film actually suggests, he was caught by Batman, and that's why he ends up in Belgrave. It probably isn't entirely necessary to show everything about Killer Croc, but they didn't even really make him that big either, so he was sort of meant to be the Hulk in this Avengers knockoff. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. With slices of Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack in there. But ultimately, in the end, seeing more scenes about Croc wouldn't just flesh out his character, it would actually make sense to why he considers himself beautiful. I mean, all these villains in Suicide Squad represent a flaw in character. You got Deadshot living with pride, you got Harley living with love, you got Boomerang living with greed, you got Diablo living with regret, and and you got Slipknot. Well, who fucking cares about Slipknot? When you've got CROC at the end of all of that, as purely someone who's just, in many ways, shy and retreated from the world and fucking angry at it for what it's done to him, it's very important that he at least feels good about himself. So in that bar scene where he says, "I'm beautiful," it truly means a lot. But we never get that as an audience with all the deleted scenes not showcasing that particular part of his character. And here's the final and worst point. This is apparently David Ayer's cut. This is the director's cut of Suicide Squad. Which is really kind of annoying because I think a lot of us would like to think that the studio is what came in and said that it had to get chopped up. I mean, I know they had to go back and do reshoots on a few things, even getting the people that edited the trailer to come back and do an edit cut of the film, but man, fingers crossed that we're actually going to get to see all the deleted scenes that take place in Suicide Squad.
What?
Remember, you can see the full listing in the description down below, and I have just one last thing to bring up. I've heard people talking about Captain Boomerang's magic jacket, and that's just kind of annoying the shit out of me. They're not really talking about a magic jacket. What they're really talking about is that he's able to pull out beers magically from nowhere. But do you guys have any idea how big his jacket is? He's got pockets and linings all going through this thing, right? Right now, I'm actually carrying 4 beers on me, which, if you remember in the film, before he actually gets to the bar, is almost the number of beers he actually consumes in the scene. And it's absolutely ridiculous for people to think that he can't just pull beers out from anywhere. I mean, it's whole way through the movie he's just drinking beers, and people are like going, "Oh, where did he pull that beer from?" Clearly, he pulled it from his jacket. I just can't understand why people wouldn't think that the man is able to pull out a beer and just enjoy it. The fuck's wrong with you?